after lunch. We will have 5 talks from colleagues from different universities of Portugal. They will share their experience with active learning and teaching methods. I suppose that it will be inspiring for all of us and very interesting. I hope you enjoy it. Problems of online students. So now I give the floor to our Vice-Rector of Teaching and Training, Professor Sandra Soares. Please.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Portugal. I know most of you are Portuguese, but some are not, and some are online with us. So it's a pleasure to have you at the University of Aveiro, and especially in such Erasmus program, because it's a quite unique project in the sense that we were able, the professors at the University of Aveiro were able to merge different scientific areas. And that's something we want to foster as much as possible in the future. So we have different engineering and mathematical STEM areas. And so we want to foster this interdisciplinarity even when we're talking about curricular and pedagogical innovation. So it's really a project which we want to show to the world, and I heard that it has been going very, very well, and I think it's a very good showcase for other departments, for other areas, for other universities to replicate or try to replicate. So welcome you all. I'll be moderating the session in the afternoon, so I see you then. And especially for those who are not from the University of Aveiro, it's also a good time to understand what we are doing here, and also in other Portuguese universities, because we will have some colleagues from different national universities. So I hope you have a good time here. It's not sunny, but it's okay, the weather, so I hope you have a nice time in Aveiro. Can you tell me again who is from Germany?
So
welcome and have a good day also.
Thank you. So now I will call Dorota Pietrowska from Lodz University, the leader of the project. Dorota, can you make a presentation of the CLOSE project? Because it's on Zoom. No? It seems frozen. Dorota, I call you now, please. Hello. Now it's also Dorota Pietrowska, the leader of the project. She's from Lodz University of Technology, from Poland. And Dorota will present a short presentation, 20 minutes, about the CLOSE project, the objectives, and the outputs. Please, Dorota, you can start.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Greetings from Poland. Unfortunately, I couldn't come today because we have just started some preparations for the new academic year and the first responsible for internationalization of all the programs run in English. I couldn't stay longer and the fact that because I really only last sure together with our German colleagues, because also at our university we provide some of them in the French language. And next great partner is of course University of Aveiro, example from Portugal. I've been there last week and I really warming up. But the 5 of the everybody sometimes, but, well, my students were very often, hidden behind the dark screen, and it was very challenging to interact. It was very challenging to encourage them to motivate them to participate actively in the online classes. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to elaborate some new solutions to motivate students to engage better students. Then, of course, on the basis of different research and different experiments, we wanted to support our teachers with some inspirational teaching and training materials. Of course, for synchronous, asynchronous training, just to make them ready for this process. Then we also wanted to combine and to add the new perspective to the learning and teaching process through the combination of pedagogy, technology, and psychology. This was something that we really wanted to, we wanted to see the teaching and learning, especially the learning process, from different perspectives, just to understand better what's going on and how to improve our activities as teachers. And of course, the very important deliverable of this project will be the set of new solutions and tools for online assessment and intangible skills. This is also very important. Online assessment is a big challenge for fair assessment, I would say. It's a big challenge for teachers, so that was also one of our objectives, to help, to support our teachers with such challenge. We wanted our project to be useful for many target groups. Of course, started from academic teachers, from partner institutions, also students, of course. These are two main groups for us. Of course, we would like to elaborate some solutions that could be also useful for our universities authorities. So some recommendations, some specific solutions, how to develop, how to improve distance learning. Maybe sometimes it could be easier when there is a formal support from the top management of the university. So it was also one of our target groups. And of course, we want this project to be very useful for our higher education institutions. So we elaborated many tools, many ideas that we do hope could be very useful, not only for our universities, but also for other institutions acting in Europe. Okay, let me now present that shortly, because there will be the specific time for each output, but just shortly, what are the main intellectual outputs of our project? We have 6 intellectual outputs. We started with research of the area of distance learning. So we wanted to recognize, to understand, to identify this difference between conventional, traditional distance learning and what happened because of this pandemic situation of COVID-19. So it was, we wanted not only to understand, the typical online learning, remote learning, but we also tried to recognize the specific situation, maybe the specificity of this specific time and specific, from those perspectives, I mean from psychological perspective, from, also a social point of view, also from technological point of view. So we wanted to really understand what was the real difference between conventional distance learning and this COVID or remote emergency teaching caused by COVID. And what we also wanted to do, because there are many research in that area, obviously, and but our target and our most important goal was to analyze 4 specific stages of the learning process. So we divided the learning and teaching process into 4 stages. The first one is the preparation. So what's usually how teachers prepare for teaching, for classes, then delivery, so then assessment, and the last one, evaluation. So we really came into details just to recognize what was the real added value, what was the real, I would say, challenge behind those 4 stages. Then the second, intellectual outpost, is a very useful. This is one of my favorites led by our colleagues from Alcala. So it is a kind of a database with many useful tools, and also some guidelines for teachers how to use those tools, and also what is very useful from my perspective, there are many categories. So for example, if you need some, I don't know, 5-minute activities, short activities, there's the list. If you need, some gamification activities, there's the list. So this is very, I would say, user-friendly tool, but contains very, many inspirational tools for teachers. So for sure, Elisa will tell you more about this toolbox for educators, but this is something that we really think will be a real deliverable of this project. Then, of course, we prepared some teacher training courses, some, 4 trainings, long-term trainings for our teachers. The first one will be in Alcala in October. It will be about the visual content and how to visualize better our learning and teaching. So very useful skills. Then the second one will be in Aveiro about different active learning and teaching methods. So if you want to, learn more about what are the most active or interactive methods that could be used not only in online learning and teaching, but also in regular teaching. So this is the training you should participate in. Then the first one will be in Poland in December. It will be about the micro-credential, because budget and short learning paths and short learning forms. This is a real hot topic right now in Europe, I would say, and this is something what we will be developing in the future because of this strong need of our learners to, and they really need the new offer from higher education based on the, flexible learning and the short-term learning, something that could, but help them just to upskill or reskill, just to let them fit better to business environments. So it was the training. So the training number 3 about micro-credentials will be in December, explaining the, how it works, the micro-credentials credentials and badges, digital badges as well, and what is the main goal and what is the main added value for badges, for micro-credentials. Then the last one will be about the gamification, will be led by our partners from Germany, and how to gamificate our teaching and how to make it more interactive. And if you wish to learn about it, this is the best place to learn with our colleagues from Germany who are very much experienced in this field. Okay. Now, so trainings. So it was the IO number 3, and IO number 4 was the smart gamification based on multiply intelligence theory. So that was something that we really wanted to, as I said, analyze, observe how to combine the gamification with different types of intelligences. So this was something developed by our colleagues from Germany. They will tell you more about it during the next session. And the last IO, intellectual output, relates to digital badges, and we wanted to create a tool, platform, through which teachers can create and award digital badges. We have started a few months ago, and together with Antonio Neves today, we will tell you what are the first results of this experiment. Okay, the last one, guidelines and recommendations led by our colleagues from Aveiro, will summarize and disseminate all results of the project. So this is something we are working on right now, how to make this project really visible and really useful for our higher education institutions. So the next multiplier event will be in October in Saarbrücken, and the last conference for this project, the CLOSE project, will be in Łódź in Poland. It will be actually the last day of February 2023. So please save the date. Feel invited for this event. We will be more than happy to host you in Łódź next year. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for your time. Thank you for being a part of this event today. And now I give the floor to Natalia.
Yes, thank you, Dorota. Now I will ask you, we saw a short introduction about our project. Now Dorota will present the first intellectual output, that is methodology of interactive asynchronous and synchronous online STEM education. So I ask you, Dorota, to present the first intellectual output, please.
Yes, okay, of course. Yes, of course. Let me just, I do hope this is the right, okay. Yeah, I need to change, I'm sorry. Okay, I need to change the, multiply, yes. Maybe in the meantime, there are some questions about the project, maybe, as the presentation is coming, but it's quite big, so that is why it is not, yeah.
So you can start, Dorota, please.
Okay. If there are no questions about the, general introduction to our project, let me just move quickly to IO number 1. So as I mentioned before, methodology for interactive, synchronous and synchronous online learning education. As I said, the most important aspect was to conduct a research in the area of distance learning. We wanted to, understand better the COVID teaching and learning situation, especially from the perspective of four stages. I mean, preparation, delivery, assessment, and evaluation stage. What we wanted, the first thing we did, it was the diagnosis of different practices for individual partners, for our partners participating in this project, to identify the use of ICT methods, okay? So we prepared the survey and analyzing those four stages, so how our teachers prepare classes based on distance learning tools, how they conduct, how they then assess learning outcomes achieved through distance learning, and how do they, use those findings in the evaluation process. Then we prepared some reports. I will tell you a little bit more about those reports, about the specific situation on different universities participating in this project during the period of the first semester of first 6 months of 2020, related, of course, to this mass transition to online education. It was a very specific moment, very, I would say, unique, because it was like, suddenly we all had to move from in-person teaching to online. So this shift from this in-person to online, massive shift, was a part of our, great interest in this research. And then we wanted also to prepare the state-of-the-art. So we wanted to somehow analyze the data coming from our research, but also we provided something called desk research, just to compare our research with different literature findings. So as for state-of-the-art, well, first of all, we wanted to understand, well, the real difference and real approaches towards synchronous and asynchronous learning. And this was something that really, I would say, differs in different national systems and different national laws. So it was the very first part of our project. Then we wanted to identify different challenges connected with remote teaching and learning, and especially in the field of student engagement, student motivation, effective feedback, collaborative work, and progress monitoring. So that was something that we really, well, examined through this project, and we will prepare today. Unfortunately, we don't have too much time to do it. However, within the last conference, we will discuss this issue in details and different approaches toward synchronous and asynchronous learning at our university. So let me maybe just to make a very general conclusion about this, because there is a big question: which approach is better, synchronous, asynchronous? And according to our findings and according to the research we did, we conducted a blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning is most effective. And within this, we found that flipping classroom, which really engaged students
in different, I would say, approaches. I mean, asynchronous, synchronous. This is something we should elaborate for the future, because right now the situation is more or less stable, so students come back, and but according to our experience, of the basis of this experience, we know that some classes could be, easily like shift to this online mode. However, the question is how to make this process really effective, and how to make this process reliable, and also how to make this process flexible. Because flexibility, this is something that our learners are very much looking for. So according to our findings, according to this project findings, flipping the classroom and blending asynchronous and synchronous methods is the best way to make this process reliable, and also to make this process effective. So this is about the flipping. Okay, and just few tips for 4 stages of learning we found during our discussions and during our surveys. So first of all, within our process, we would suggest that all classes should be organized logically. This is very important for our students, but they need to see the logic of our course. And of course, clear goals set for learning process are extremely important for our students. They want to have a clear vision what goals we want them to achieve, what learning outcomes, what skills and competences should be developed. So this is something we also found quite useful. Use of tried and test pedagogy. It means that we should train our teachers, we should create them a space to test some tools, because for students this is also important, that and they, I would say, feel clearly when the teacher is whether the teacher is experienced in this field or not. So this is quite important. For some students, it is important that a teacher follows out of the box approach. So testing different innovative methods, creating a very community between students, like let them feel that they are a part of learning group. And of course, this focus on students. So when we prepare classes, those aspects seem to be very important. For the delivery stage, we believe that delivering the content consistently is quite important, according to what our students said and what also our research what we discovered through this research. Be concise, stay focused on our students, be brief. It's very important, but it is right now quite a big challenge after Netflix activities or different short-term activities our students follow on different social media. They usually can be, paying attention for, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. So this is something we need to also consider in our delivering. Present the content visually whenever possible. So, drawings, communicating by drawings seems to be important for our students. So that is why, as you can see, those trainings that we decided to provide within this project are very much based on those, right? And for assessment, we see that for our students, it's extremely important to have some, assessment based on goals, okay? And they need both formative and summative assessment, so it is something that we really want to develop in the future, and how to provide a clear feedback. So this is also I would say, tip for the future project. We would like to provide some formative and summative assessment tools, and also we would like to learn how to provide a clear and fair feedback for students, just to make this assessment fair. And of course, for evaluation stage, we discussed how to monitor the student progress and how to, implement those findings evaluation process to our teaching and learning. Okay, and the second task was some reports. You can find them on our project website. So all universities deliver all projects. So let me just see them shortly. Institutions wanted to, as for, it was March 2020, so very, as I mentioned before, the living moment, and for educators, for universities, for all of us, it was a very unique moment, and we had to deal with many challenges because of this very fast, shift from regular in-person teaching to online teaching and learning. As for results, my colleagues from Ivero prepared a nice short report. So the great majority of students has never attended a real distance class before the pandemic. So it was quite unique for them. Institutions provide quite good and broad support, including some, videos for students, manuals, online training. So we all, did our best to make the process easier for students. Many students reported that their preparation workload has increased when compared to traditional face-to-face classes. Okay, so it was also very important for us that it's not only, it is not that students are just hidden behind this, dark screen. They work, okay, and they reported that they had to make more effort to get prepared for students, well, they consider the face-to-face communication with cameras on to be very important. Okay, so that's great because this is something. But as you can see, our students, that's something that shows that for Polish students, it's not as important as, for example, Portuguese students. However, I'm really glad that they really appreciate this contact face to face. I know it's virtual contact. However, from our perspective, it's also very important. The most popular video conferencing tools was, of course, Zoom and Teams. The most popular application related to the online was Kahoot, mind mapping, Mentimeter, Socrates, and Miro. As for social communication, it was like a Blackboard model and WhatsApp with Facebook, just to promote some announcements, and it was typically communication channel. As you can see, comparing different results, generally speaking, from different universities, generally speaking, students prefer on-campus learning. Right? 73% of Portuguese students definitely prefer on-campus learning. For University of Alcalá was a little bit less than 50%, and 50% for Polish students. This is something that could be a very nice, pillar of a new research in the future. As for motivation, that was a great problem for students, and through this survey, students suggested some solutions. So first of all, they think that online support from teachers could be helpful. Then some progress self-assessment tools could be also could facilitate this process. And small group work, this is something they really appreciate. And about 50% of the students reported that their in-class activity has reduced when compared to the pre-pandemic period. It means that they've been participating in the teaching and learning. However, they they were not that much active. And as for methods, the students prefer, first of all, posting exercises, some real-time writing, drawing, demonstration from instructor, solving real-world problems, communicating with our students. So typical methods that I would say work the best. For teachers, majority of them, of course, consider that face-to-face communication with cameras on is important. So this is something comparable to, but the numbers, as you can see, are much higher compared to our students. But same for more or less for tools that have been used by our teachers. Maybe I will just mention this one. The most widespread among teachers' learning environments were shared whiteboards, simulators, graphical tools, and virtual labs. So this is something that very much relates to gamification, to active learning methods, and also the great pillar of this project. For assessment, as you can see, that that's really good, but only few of the students consider the assessment procedures implemented during the pandemic to be not fair. Okay, and that's good because for us, from teachers' perspective, it's a big challenge. Of course, as you can see, comparing with teachers, they also consider the assessment procedures were fair, however, or fair enough. However, we all know this is something we should really work on and put a lot of effort into it. As for grades, almost half of our students thought that they effort to achieve the 10 grade and in the pre-pandemic area has increased. So, yeah, again. And most of them were, of course, assessed virtually in online assessment. So that was something that was, you know, a new reality, I would say, for all of us. Well, of course, teachers, they used online assessment, and of course they used, but it was I would say that the variety, diversity of methods used in assessment was pretty, I would say, limited and not very much creative. Okay. Well, the major challenges appointed by students were lack of motivation. This is very important. And for Polish students, for Portuguese students, lack of concentration, and focusing attention on lecture, like 36%. But same for Spanish students, lack of concentration and on classes, lack of personal contact with colleagues and teachers, overload, withdrawal, not enough support from teachers. So, well, we should, you know, elaborate more deeply those results because we see there are some elements that could be, we do hope, improved in the future. Okay, yeah, most effective activities, it was already mentioned, and as for teachers, the most challenging aspect for teachers was keeping students motivated, as I was saying, lack of immediate feedback from students, so sometimes we ask questions and we wait for an answer from inability to understand the student progress at distance, and this is the big challenge as well, and lack of contact with students. And of course, they also reported that there is more time required to prepare remote classes, and a very big issue, how to prevent the cheating with video like assessment, and how to make this process real and fair. Some, recommendations from students were also elaborated, but this is something that we would like to develop in the future. How to increase the class attendance rate. So we should elaborate some, maybe use some tools to motivate better our students, and maybe by using more innovative methods. And this is something what we did for this project. We elaborated many tools, many methods, and then in the next stage we will just, you know, train our teachers how to teach. And from teacher perspective, it was quite important to learn more about modern equipment and just to get specific training and to guarantee some, you know, best support for them, just to make this use really real and effective. you very much for your attention. I think that's right. I know very fast and maybe not to see the introduction, but as you can see, the research we conducted was very wide, and this is something that we would like to, well, disseminate, promote within our reports and within the final conference, which will be held, as I mentioned, in March 2023 in Poland. Thank you very much for your attention and for this item number 1.
Thank you, Dorota. There are some questions or remarks that you can ask. As we see, Dorota showed that the results of our survey, in some topics, there are big difference between universities, in fact. The importance of camera on during online classes, if they prefer to be online learning or in campus, there are in fact very big difference between the universities, and I think it is important to study why this difference. Yeah. So if there are some questions or remarks?
Well, actually, as for this aspect, we were all very much surprised by this result, because we thought all students are more or less the same, and through this research, we learned that they are, in some areas, our students are very similar, but there are some areas that they differ a lot, and I would say that in the future, this is very important finding, I would say, for internationalization, how to deal with different, students from different nationalities, providing at home, internationalization at home, or working with, I don't know, incoming or outgoing students. So this is something that I think will be very useful, at least for my staff with my university.
There are some questions? So if not, thank you, Dorota. Now it's time for coffee break. The coffee break is downstairs, and we will begin at 11:30. Thank you. See you, Dorota.
Aveiro, que é super conhecido pela sua universidade, absolutamente fantásticas, a
start these 3 talks. Now we have 3 presentations. The first one, it will be presented by Elisa Rojas from University of Alcalá, Spain. And Elisa will speak about the second intellectual output, that is distance teaching toolbox for educators. Elisa, are you here? Elisa? This is on mute. Onde é que está? It's not here. Não está. Não sei onde é que está. So, the next speaker is Elisa Rojas from University of Alcalá, Madrid. And Elisa will present the second intellectual output, is distance teaching toolbox for educators. So Elisa, are you here, Elisa? Yes. You can start, Elisa. Elisa?
Okay, now.
Oh, okay.
My microphone was muted.
Okay. So, good morning, Elisa. You can start.
Okay, good morning. So, hello, everyone. I'm going to just put my, because I can share my video as well, I guess,
Yes.
so that you can see my face.
Yes, full
So
screen.
that I was saying.
Is it possible to put full screen, please?
Is it not full screen already?
No.
Okay. So, as in my Zoom, it appears as full screen. I don't know why. I don't know. Let me check. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
So don't worry, you can proceed like this.
Okay. So Joao is now moving my, but I don't know. Can you see my full screen or not? Not yet.
Not yet.
But I don't know why. This is very strange, because maybe you are seeing something different. So I'm just gonna check. I don't know. This is very strange. So Joao, are you trying to show the full screen? Because you took the control of my screen.
We will try. No, it's not possible. You can proceed, Elisa.
Well, the thing is that you're not going to see it well, because if you're seeing, I don't know. I don't know why you're not seeing my full screen. Let me just stop sharing, and I'm going to do it again. Just in case. Because maybe it's just that. Okay, share screen again. So maybe now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so it was just about, it was sharing something else. So I guess you have seen already some spoiler. Okay, so you can see my presentation now on screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. Because okay, great. Because I'm also seeing it in YouTube, just to see if everything's great. Okay, so sorry for the delay. So in my case, we are going to present the second intellectual output. As Dorota represented, this second intellectual output is kind of a toolbox for distance teaching, specifically focused for educators. So in our case, this was kind of somehow some resource that we needed, because you know that when we were in the pandemic situation, and nowadays also if you are continuing some of the online classes for other purposes and so on, suddenly, all of a sudden, many tools appear from nowhere. So you usually knew the basics, like for example, if you've done several online meetings before or something like that. But suddenly many tools appears. And it was kind of crazy because maybe you needed some functionality, but you didn't know where to look it for. Maybe you have many resources there, but to know if the functionality was correct, you have to try them one by one. Okay, so that was kind of difficult, particularly because we didn't have any time to learn so many things. Okay, so in our case, this intellectual output, just let me. Okay, so this intellectual output is led by University of Alcalá or Universidad de Alcalá, because lately our university said that we say it in Spanish, so Universidad de Alcalá, together with the rest of the consortium, Woods, Saarbrücken University, and Aveiro. In my case, this is my face, more or less. So I'm Elisa Rojas, and I'm the coordinator from the University of Alcalá side. Okay. So what is this intellectual output all about? I'm just copying and pasting this from the proposal, but I don't want you to read it at all. Okay. So basically, it was focused on what I meant. There was a need for tools. Okay, many tools appear, and if you know, for example, if you've been using online tools for a while, many of them were free before, and when the pandemic appeared, many of them show new features, you know, because they were evolving very quickly. And afterwards, many of them suddenly are not free anymore because, you know, in the end, some of the free tools they want also to make some business. So maybe they were free at the beginning because not many people use them, and now that they have the correct audience, they started to change the plans. Okay, and maybe you have to pay a bit and so on. Also, we had some problems with the methodologies. Okay, because it was a sudden change, so many of the professors need different resources and different methodologies to apply during online courses, as they are different. Okay, it's not the same when you can move in the class, for example, as when you have to stay like in front of the camera and maybe have like a stare look at the camera and so on. Okay. Finally, there is another problem that arises with online teaching, and is related with problems. Okay, with problems during the online teaching. For example, if the students are not motivated, or if the internet connection is failing, which you might recall. Okay, and these three things that I've mentioned are directly related with the three tasks that we had during this the development of this intellectual output. So the first one is the teacher guide, which is we aim to create a guide for teachers full of methodologies that are helpful. So they are classified. So we try to sketch a classification so that if you need some specific thing, you can check with that graphical organization, you can check what you need and check if it makes sense for your classes and so on. I will show you afterwards. Secondly, the Toolbox database, okay? And this was rather kind of a challenge, because on one side we have to create a Toolbox database, so all the tools that we knew and many others that we looked for together. But at the same time, our objective was that this database was accessible and it could be edited or by any other professor outside the project, okay? Because for us, it's important that it is collaborative. So if you find some other tool that it is not listed in the Toolbox, that you can propose it and apply, submit it so that it can be updated. This is important because if I made a website with a Toolbox database, that is somehow static and it depends on me. But if the database is more flexible and it's open to anybody, this can evolve into something else, okay? Finally, what we call the survival kit, okay? The third thing that I mentioned. So if you have problems, for example, I have 2 cats. So usually you cannot see it now because currently I am at home, in fact, because I came back from the university to this session. So I have to close the door, you know, and the cats are always trying to jump into the screen. I don't know why. And when I close the door, they are like scratching the door and they want to contribute to the lesson. Okay, so this is what we call the survival kit. So when a problem arises, how can you take this problem out or even include it in your lessons so that the session can continue, okay? So I'm just providing like kind of some graphic expression of this. So the teacher guide is like what all teachers want to have for the methodologies guide, like a clue to help in this online session, the toolbox database, and finally the survival kit. So when there is a problem, don't run away, just take the survival kit and we'll try to fix it. Okay, so I'm gonna share the 3 things, okay? And I will share afterwards a link to you so that you can directly access them because they are already open and available. Let me see if I can do it correctly. Okay, so I can share. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so you should first see the methodologies. Okay, great. So our intention was to build it in a more or less graphical and summary way, because what we saw previously is that maybe there are some books or some guidelines that has methodologies, but when you have to check something very quick because you have to perform some quick changes in your classes, it is better to have an overall view of everything. And then if you want to delve into it, you just check one of those things that you've seen here by the name, and maybe you can look for it for more information online, okay? So that is why we created a mind map, okay, with the different methodologies, and our consortium decided to classify these methodologies based on this classification, okay? So for example, things like complexity, if they are used once or they are very time consuming, so that you know if they can be applied to your courses or not. The form, online or not online classes, okay, because this is kind of general, even if the project is focused on online teaching. The time to apply them, because sometimes some methodologies have to be applied in class or out of class, so that the students do it out of class and then came to the class prepared. And the type of organization, if individually or groups, for example, okay? If we go to this classification, you can see them here, okay? And you can directly just click on some of them. So for example, I'm gonna click on online methodologies, and we have here some clear methodologies with some icons so that you can simply at once, like a very quick, without very quick look of what maybe can apply to your classes, okay? So for example, gamification, flipped classroom, some of them are very classic ones, let's say, classic new ones. And we have then some that might be more specific, like jigsaw for specific sessions and so on, okay? So if you click on any of them, you can see the specific description, but in a summary way, because if you want more information, you can usually go for it or modify it at your own, but at least you have a very quick overview of some specific methodologies, like kind of in a resource way. You can also go one by one just by clicking to the next ones, okay? And you can just check all of them as a PDF, let's say, or as a presentation, okay? Okay, so this would be the teacher guide, okay? I'm not gonna share with you the toolbox. As I mentioned, these are open, already available online, so I will share the links with you after I explain it a bit more. So the second one is the toolbox. And as I was mentioning, we didn't want this to be a static website because it is difficult to update and it depends on a specific website administrators and so on. So our intention was that this could be edited by anyone or contributed by anyone, and that is why we use GitHub. So GitHub is a very popular environment for engineering developers of computer science and so on. And this is usually is used for code developing, because maybe you have a project, a collaborative project of code, and you have to code things. And if you want to collaborate with other and write the same piece of code, you just contribute piece of code and upload it in a collaborative way. You can see if there are conflicts, if you can want to merge everything together, and so on. In this case, there are no conflicts because we are just uploading tools, okay? But as you can see, the interface is very similar to the one of a code developing team, okay? So if you come to the toolbox, you will see that there are some folders, and there is a small, once again, summary with the tools organized in some classification that we thought of. First of all, we realized that some of what we call tools were actually tools or pieces of software, but some others were what we call resources. So, for example, Zoom, or which I'm using right now, or Kahoot that was mentioned before, for example, by Dorota, and so on, would be a tool, which is a piece of tool that you can leverage for your classes. While a resource could be just simply a web where you can download, for example, clips of videos or free images and so on, because this is also important for online teaching. You cannot use anything that you find on Google, let's say, because not all of them are available or free, and they might have copyright concerns, okay? So in the case of resources, you can see the classification very clearly. So audio, design, icons, images, learning platforms, music, podcast, and video. While in the tools, we tried to sketch some classification also. And after some internal discussion, we decided that maybe we could define some tools for collaboration, for example, gamification, some others for streaming, some others for projects, evaluation, design, and so on. Okay, so there are similar, different ones. Some tools belong to several of these classification. Okay, so the idea is that you can simply click on one of them. For example, I'm gonna click on evaluation. Okay, and you will see the list of tools. Okay, so there is a list of tools that you can see here by the name. In fact, it has similar labels, different labels, I mean. So you can see that some of them are for evaluation, but also for gamification, okay? Or for example, for other situations, if you are creative enough, let's say, okay? If we click on them, okay, so for example, I'm gonna just click the very first one, clickers. You will see that there is a description of it, and you can also have an advanced description on the link, okay? So you have here the definition of the tools and some references and some links to go. Once again, this is very summarized because our intention is just to provide a very first glance, an idea of what you can use for your classes, okay? So as I was mentioning before, the good thing about this is that you can suggest your own, you can see here, okay, these are some tests, but you can suggest your own tools, okay? So if you want to suggest your own tools, you just need to have a GitHub account, and that's enough, okay? So you can sign up for free. And once you have signed up, you can here, okay, so I'm gonna just go back. You are here in Toolbox, and you go to what is called issues, and you create a new issue. If you create a new issue, you can provide a new tools that maybe is not listed already, okay? And you can say, okay, this tool is not listed, and it might serve for whatever. So for example, well, I haven't signed in, so that is why I cannot create the new issue. But if you create a new issue, you will be able to indicate a new tool and provide some labels. Okay, so maybe this new tool is available, for example, for gamification or wherever. Okay, they will be included in the toolbox, and once they are included, they will be listed as closed. Okay, because open are suggestions, are closed are already included in the database. In fact, if you know about GitHub and how it works, you can even go beyond and directly publish it online with a pull request. Okay, But this depends on your technological, let's say, knowledge, okay? If you just want to provide a new tool, you just create a new issue and provide the links and so on, and the labels, and it will be included. But if you want to create your own entry with the logo and so on, you can even create a pull request and it will be accepted, okay? And directly published in our database. Okay, finally, I'm gonna go quick because this is the last one and we have to give some time for questions. So this is the survival kit for, as I mentioned, when you have problems or you have some unforeseen situations in online teaching, okay? So this was also created similarly to the first one, to the methodologies book, in an online way with Genially in a graphical way, okay? So what is the idea? In this case, we also once again classify the possible problems, okay? So some of them are related with internet connectivity, some others are hardware issues, software issues, location issues, because for example, location, it's important when you live very far and the time zones are different, for example. This could also be an issue, particularly if you have students for many places, because you just have a specific time zones in which all of them can meet and so on. Social issues and online classes limitations, okay? We also have a summary and about the close, okay? Once you click on each of them, we decided to provide two approaches for the solutions in the survival kit. Some of them are called protection and some other are called restoration. What's the meaning of this? Protection is when you want to be prepared in advance, okay? So maybe you know that. So to protect yourself, you just anticipate this and, for example, prepare some task. In this case, we have provided an idea, okay? Which is one student is in charge of the internet connection. When the connection fails for the teacher, he or she will be in charge of telling the teaching and keep the audience online, okay? So it's kind of a student whose role is just to entertain the people so that they don't leave, you know, because this is important. When something fails and you don't know what's going on, it's like maybe you leave or something like that. But if there's somebody that is keeping just the audience there, it will be just a temporary problem. And the other thing is restoration. When you don't protect and something just happens suddenly, they just improvise something when it occurs, okay? So for each of the different problems, we will have this protection and restoration methods, okay? And you will see each of them, okay? So I'm not gonna show all of them. So you can also go one by one, just clicking on next, and that's it, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna just share the last part of my presentation. Let's see if I can go back. Okay, it should appear in a while. Is it already there? Okay, great. So that's that. Just so that you can try. As I was mentioning, all of these three results are online. So you can, I don't know if you can see the screen to scan the QR. So if you want to test any of them, just scan it, have a look. Can you see it? Is it available? Okay, Natalia, okay. And is it possible to scan it, even if I'm projecting it? Okay, so if you just want to check, just scan it and have a look. And as I was mentioning, this is the mind map, the toolbox, and the survival kit. And I'm just gonna leave it here. I had another slide asking for questions, suggestions, and comments, but I'm just gonna leave it here so that you can scan it. And that's it for my side. So if you have any comments, questions, feel free to ask. Now is the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There are some questions or remarks about this second intellectual output. as Elisa told us, this toolbox is also in the CLOSE project, yes? So you can go and you can, and if you found some, some tool or methodology that is not listed in the toolbox, you can add in this list.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, some questions or remarks? Don't be shy.
So even if you're shy and you want to reach us afterwards, feel free, okay?
Yeah.
Because, when something is presented, then you don't have to time to check everything in detail. But afterwards, if you're curious and you've checked, feel free to reach us.
So, if there is no questions or remarks, thank you again, Elisa.
Thank you very much.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, the next speaker is Ksenia and Tarek from Saarbrücken University of Applied Science from Germany, and they will speak about the 4 intellectual output that is smart gamification applied in education. So you can, it is what it is.
Okay, so welcome from our side, from the German team. We are presenting you now our IO4, which is called Smart Gamification based on multiple intelligence theory. So our lead was, so for this output, the lead was by our university, HTW Saarbrücken in Germany. I'm Senior Hitzmann. I'm coordinating the project from the German point of view, but there's also a professor joining our team, Professor Vice-Rector, who is currently in Germany, but maybe come for our next visit to the Avairo as a project meeting. And then there's my colleague.
Thank you, Xenia. My name is Tarek. I'm also a member of the project from the side of the University of Applied Sciences in Saarbrücken. I'm a assistant teacher and researcher. And yes, I hope you will enjoy our presentation of the intellectual output number 4, and I give the word to Xenia, which will show you the agenda.
Yeah, so what is our plan for the next 20 minutes? We would like to tell you our experience with a virtual learning environment, which we used during the project time, which is called WBS LearnSpace. It's a platform. You will see some pictures and videos of the system that we use. Then we also conducted a survey to ask the students how they felt in this environment, if it was okay for them to study in this virtual campus and what it was like. Then we will quickly go to the multiple intelligence theory, which was new in the project, to combine the approach of gamification and this intelligence theory. And then afterwards we will show you more of gamification workshops we did in our project, because each university had different workshops we did for all of our students, and then in the end we will have a conclusion and we will see what the plan is for the next steps in the project. So let's start.
Check the pointer. So to address the different intelligence types from the students, an appropriate method for teaching and learning was needed for online classes. Therefore, we implemented a software tool or a virtual academy with a software tool created by the WBS Academy. It's a German education company specialized in digital learning, and it's also an award-winning software. Yes, they earned the Digital Champions Award, also the HR Innovation Award, and we use this software to implement this digital or virtual learning environment. As you can see, this is the CLOSE Academia, and it's a virtual simulation of a learning environment, and the teachers could held their digital seminars and lectures there, and it was international seminars, so as well as a global digital collaboration. The students could create their own individual avatars and attend to lectures in the auditorium or in seminar rooms. They could also meet in the office or libraries and lounge or terrace to have some talks after or before the lessons. Yes, and we started in the first step with the test phase, with two modules in the field of industrial engineering, and we tested this with our double degree students from Finland in the summer semester of 2021. And in this figure you can see a lecture held by Professor Frank Rückert in the field of computational fluid dynamics, and it's a lecture where very much calculations must be done, and also you have to show some 3D models of maybe so fluid simulations, so to say. And yes, so in this test phase, in the next step of this test phase, the students were introduced to the software. They had lectures every week, and also so they participated, of course, in the lectures with presentations as well as calculations, and showed their own 3D models of some computational fluid dynamics models. And afterwards, after the course of the different lectures, they had an exam, an oral exam, so with the students, so they held presentations in front of the audience in the lecture hall, in the virtual lecture hall. And as you can see here, so they made some example calculations, showed their models which they created at home, and they could discuss this different tasks which has to be made by them. The next phase was also really important rollout phase, where our partners used this digital learning environment. So the University of Alcala, our colleagues from Alcala, Aveiro, sorry, had lectures in civil engineering, and the University of Alcala had some lectures in the field of communication networks, as you can see here in this figure. If I remember right, this was also kind of an oral exam from students in this digital learning environment. The Technical University of Łódź had lectures in the field of mathematics in this environment, as well as I showed you before, the HTW, which is our university. Our professor had lectures in the field of fluid dynamics for the industrial engineering studies. But not only lectures were held there, as we used some gamified tools to motivate the students to participate in this different lectures and also to have some fun with that. And yes, that was a student exchange for gamification workshop C1 and C2. So they answered some questions with a Kahoot quiz, and yeah, this is what you see in this figure. Now we have a short introduction with videos where you can see the student entering the university. See, he comes inside, goes through the hallway, sits at the lounge. Also, you can see a library here, and of course the lecture hall, the auditorium. Short video that you can see the software too. So the next point is the student feedback. So at first they were a little bit skeptic, and was skepticism, but this disappeared after some time of coaching. The students said that the time passes faster in these virtual learning environment because we have different stimuli from the students could be addressed, and they were able to interact with fellow students in such a online world, and they had fun walking around and meeting other students and friends on the way to the lecture hall. So that was it from my side, and now I will give the word to Xenia, which show you some results of the survey.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So these were some first oral feedback that we got from our students. They said, yeah, it was fun, but we wanted now to figure out really what they felt and how it was for them to work in this area. This is why we did a small survey together with all partners. You can see that we had overall 52 students participating in this survey, more or less half female and male, and also they come from all universities. So you could really see that all students joined this environment and studied in there. We had different types of categories that we asked them. The questions were already validated, but we just took them and imported it for our context. So in the part of perceived usefulness, you could see, yeah, there's nothing really special that the students found out, but more or less they could see in the end that it was useful to use some new software in the, yeah, useful. I would find the system useful in my job, so they think that maybe they can also use this system for further work after their study time. For the ease of use, it is really clear that the students got to know the system quite well. They felt comfortable getting to know the system. It was easy for them. I think this is also because we have a young generation, they are digital natives, they're used to technologies, so it was kind of easy for them to adapt. On the other side, for us teachers, in the beginning it was a bit more complicated than expected, but you can see the students got used to it and felt okay using the system. Then what the students felt about the system, it is also clear that they really liked the system, that it was fun for them to use it. It makes work more interesting. This was also nice because during the COVID time, lecturing was sometimes pretty boring when you just sit there in front of your Teams or Zoom meeting, and I think this environment made it possible to interact with each other, to walk around with their own avatar, so it was more interesting and more fun to actually learn something during a lecture and visit classes. In the point of the satisfaction of the students, again we have the question, it was fun for them. But also they were satisfied, it was okay, it fitted to their terms of how they want to learn, how they want to
conduct content from the lecture, and yeah, most of them said they will also recommend it to friends. So I think the systems showed that it is a nice way to add something new to an online teaching session, just to feel better and learn more. And then in the point of interactivity, we see that it's different than, I don't know, we expected, or maybe what was actually clear to all of us, that everyone wants to go back to normal, back to reality, that it is easier to interact with teachers, had not so many scores, so the interaction, they said, it is nicer to have interaction in the real world than actually in this virtual learning environment. I don't know what to say to them, but I think, the students had fun, this was clear, to walk around and play with the avatar, but actually talking to each other, maybe discussing questions of the lecture, if they didn't know, if they couldn't follow the lecture, the real world is easier to ask questions and interact. This was one main point that was clear out of the survey. And then in the end, also we asked about virtual reality, how the students felt in this world, if they got used to it. In the end, we see they feel comfortable in a virtual learning environment. I think most of the students might also play video games, online games. They're used to having an avatar and walking around in the system. So this was more or less what this was about virtual reality. And then the point about the learning environment, we can see that they didn't like it, that the false or wrong hard questions have low scores. So also here, the metaverse was okay to use it for online teaching. They felt confident and competent to use this area. So more or less we can say that the students were satisfied and got used to this virtual learning environment, even though they liked interaction more in face-to-face. And then, now after showing you the results of the survey, now's the time to think about, okay, how can we combine this with the theory? In the project we have the multiple intelligence theory. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but Howard Gardner found out that we have actually 8 intelligence types. People are used to learn in different ways and need different environments and different points how they can learn and how I want to skill my intelligence. So this was established in the 1980s. Howard Gardner said that the classical intelligence tests are more insufficient, so he thought, okay, I need these 8 types of intelligence which we should address. And now, as part of the project, we thought, okay, how we can bind this. And on the next slide, we can see that we try to see how this learn space, as we showed you previously, addresses these different intelligence types from our students. So how can students really learn? How can we address with this environment all these different types? I will just show you some examples. For example, for the linguistic intelligence types, in the library, in the Learn space, there was the possibility to upload documents, so they could just go into the library, have a book and read it. Of course, virtually, but it felt like being in a real library. Then we have logical mathematics type of intelligence. You can use polls in the system. You can use the whiteboard for calculations. So there are also different ways to address these students who feel more comfortable in that intelligence type. And for the others, there were students could help presentations, show the 3D models, they could walk around with their avatars. For the naturalistic ones, we had trees and plants, at least virtually. But of course, also for interpersonal and intrapersonal, it was possible for the students just to sit at the terrace and do some reading for themselves, or join other meetings in smaller groups. They could have workshops in there. So with this Learn space, we could address all these intelligence types. At least this is how our approach, how we want to combine the gamification and the theory. As a next step, we had several workshops during the project with the topic of gamification. For example, in July we had students from all partner universities in Saarbrücken, and they had a workshop there about the construction of windmills. So the students had some wood and needed to cut it and build their own windmills. As you can see here in the picture, that's how they built this. This was the winning team because the aim was to produce hydrogen as a new renewable energy system. The windmill turned, and then a small cell was added to it, so they produced their own hydrogen. And with this workshop we also tried to figure out how can we combine this with the multiple intelligence theory, and we also found spots for all intelligence types that all students could feel comfortable in this workshop and could do their work to the group. These are only two examples of the gamification parts we did in the project. As a next step, we also had two other students exchange programs. I will just show you these pictures here that you can see. In the first workshop it was in Łódź, in our Polish partner university. The students also did some drawings on the whiteboards and also did a lot of teamwork there. So there was another gamification workshop. And then one big part of our project was the CIS3. I'm not sure, maybe some of you already heard of it. It was really nice for all our students. They went to the Mazuri camp in Poland and had some sailing activities, but also addressing to all intelligence types. They could earn badges, and they had some body smart activities, some nature smart activities. So they were activities for all intelligence types that all students feel comfortable in the camp and could explore their gamification work. So you can see we have a lot of gamification in the project. As a conclusion now, we would like to say gamification encourages active learning because, as you can see also in the survey, you feel more active, you can interact better with the students, and it supports intercultural exchange because a lot of teamwork showed us that the students from all 4 countries can come together and talk to each other. And it's not a problem if they play a game together, it even makes it easier, and they learn by gamification. And also we can address different intelligence types with this gamification approach. I think this is a new idea of us to combine gamification and this theory. This is how we tried it. Maybe you have other ideas, but at least that's what we thought we can do with it. And in the end, you can also see, this is my avatar. It actually looks, almost like me, some people say. And you could also wave in there, so there are a lot of functions this online world showed us. And then, as an outlook of the project, as the next task, we will do a checklist for didactic notes, which means that we want to provide a checklist which you teachers can use, which tells you how you can use gamification in your classes, show example, give some notes, and then there's also a teacher's guide. So this will be the outlook of the project, that in the next weeks we will provide these two things that, from us you can also learn, so we write down all our results, and then you can see what we did. Also, maybe can do something with that and do some of our workshops in your university as well. Okay, then thank you for your attention, and now if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra and Derek, for such interesting presentation. If there are some questions or remarks, please.
Yes.
Question. You talked about the virtual environment, but in fact, this is like a 3D game where the people have an avatar, not a virtual environment, where the people stay in the environment and can see the environment. This is not the virtual environment. Virtual reality is not this. Okay? This is more similar to the Second Life, no? Where you have avatar for each player or for each person, and you present the contents inside this 3D world. Virtual environment, this is another thing where each people have stayed inside the environment and can see the environment with their eyes and can move inside the virtual environment.
I mean, your body cannot be transferred in there, but
No, but
you're
we
walking
use
around as with the glasses.
the head model display for the virtual environment. This is not the case.
No, but actually as a next step, the system wants to provide these glasses that you can actually walk around in there with your, in your own room, but now it's only like a game, yes, that's true.
So this was the first approach to create something and see if we can address the different intelligence types during this online or digital classes, and as maybe in the future, of course, this we want to use some add-ons or to develop add-ons that you can use this VR or AR VR classes to bring this interaction on a next level, of course.
So more questions or remarks?
But thank you.
I have a question. So you only use these when you're teaching online? So
Yes.
you use it when you have a face-to-face module?
We just used it for online teaching actually, because when you're sitting all together in the classroom, it doesn't really make sense to have a separate avatar in the world. So actually all students were sitting at home, because we also had like the international project in there. Students were sitting in their home country and could join just in this online campus to come together in there.
Did it measure the gain of learning outcomes compared with more traditional methods?
I think I don't know what you mean with the traditional methods. Do you think so? Face-to-face lectures or
Zoom or anything else? What are the advantages in learning of using this compared with this traditional and more traditional methods?
I mean, we didn't show that in the survey. We didn't ask the students about that, but from our feeling, the students, it was more intuitive for them to
They
do
were
that.
more pleased to use.
Yes, yes.
But that does not mean that they learn better.
We don't know. I mean, of course, we have the exams.
This is the key factor. If I want to invest in this, I need to know if I will go and my students learn more.
I mean, of course, it depends in the end on the exam format you have, because a lot of our projects had like their oral presentations in there, and in the time of not going onto campus, it was better for them to be in this world to give their presentations. I'm not sure if it had any differences in the notes, because we can't, we don't have the statistics for that, but the feeling is that the students learned easier, and through that they learned better. But it's just the thesis.
And when I can add something, there are some differences against to say normal online classes with MS Teams or Zoom. So when they walk with their avatar over the campus and they see someone and they hear something, but when they come nearer to their colleagues, so they can hear him better. So it's kind of a different thing to normal MS Teams classes, because some things out of the real world were adapted to this online world, so to say. So there are kind of differences. So, yes.
There is some kind of assessment in this regard.
Okay.
There are assessment activities in this environment.
Yes, of course. I mean, we have a poll system in there. I'm not sure if you want to use them as an official exam, thing, but during the lectures it was good to use these poll systems, and yeah, you could do your presentations in there, they could upload files, you could check them, so...
There are some kind of active learning assessments.
What do you mean by active learning assessments?
I explain. Activities that the students do active learning put in assessment task. There is some kind of activities that the students collaborate with each other in this environment and face real problems.
So they were in this lectures, and in these lectures there were also some tasks which they had to do in teams, of course. So they could leave the place with their team and sit on some other places and collaborate with each other, come back, and then show the results to the audience, and yes.
Some more questions or remarks? So, if not, thank you, Sandra and Derek. So now the next speaker, we have two, is Dorota Pietrowska from Łódź University. You saw in the beginning, is the leader of the project. And Antonio Neves from the University of Aveiro, he's here. They will present the fifth intellectual output that are online badges that we already see in the presentation of Ksenia and Tarek. Online badges for sustainable education. So, Dorota, are you here? Dorota admitir. How to... Sim, não consigo aqui ver porque aqui está outro ecrã. Joaquim, consegues ver? Sim, mas aqui, aqui está o... Não está aqui. Joaquim. Já está? Ok. So, Dorota?
Okay.
So, Dorota? So, Dorota, can you start the presentation?
Hear me? Can you see me?
Not yet.
Hello, hello, hello.
Dorota?
Yes, yes. I'm really sorry. I'm on my way to airport because I'm flying to France today, so that is why I couldn't be with you. But hopefully I found an internet connection on my parking, so it's okay.
We can wait 2 minutes if you want.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think I can now share my screen. Am I right? Can I start my presentation? Okay. Okay. So welcome back. I will try to switch on my camera. Yeah. I'm really sorry, but that's a life. So I will shortly describe our intellectual output number 5, and then I will give the floor to Antonio Neves, who will who will continue with our digital badges application. Okay, so let me, okay, so I do hope my presentation is visible right now. Give me a second, I will make it. I'm sorry, not this one. Okay, not this one, not this one, not this one. Okay, give me a second. IO number 5. Yeah.
No, it's not this.
Yeah, online. Once again, I will share once again my story. Give me one more minute. I will show my screen again. I do hope now will be my presentation will be visible. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. One more minute, just 1 minute. Okay. Okay. And once again. Is it okay now?
Yes, full screen, please,
Yeah.
Dorota.
Yeah. Okay. So
you can start.
Yeah. Okay, short introduction, online badges for sustainable education. As I mentioned during my introduction, for us it is quite important not only to focus on the development of innovation teaching and learning methods, but also to look for innovative skills and future needs of labor market. So that is why we've been also looking for some we wanted to combine 21st century skills and sustainable education issues with the delivering badges and micro qualification through our project. So as I mentioned before previously, the main goal of this intellectual outputs was just to create a tool or platform through which teachers can create and award digital badges. Of course, we also wanted our students to learn a little bit more about qualification, about badges system, because this is also a new topic for them. So we started. From this point. The very first thing we organized for our students was a survival camp organized in Poland on Mazury Lake region. It was in July of this year. We spent 5 days, working together on a budget system, just to make a nice introduction for our students to this micro qualification. What are types of different budgets, how to earn budgets, and so on and so on. Let me just report shortly about this day. So it was a real camp, very nice place. So it was our yachting club base located on the side of Dargin Lake. Probably you know, but this is one of the pretty beautiful region of Poland, so-called land of 1,000 lakes. So we stayed on the side of the Dargin Lake and Kistajno Lake. It was very close to the capital of Polish yachting, Giżycko town. Beautiful place, very nice place to start to learn about budgets, about micro-credentials. Of course, the main objective of the camp was to develop the knowledge of our students about budgets, to develop some competences, how to apply for budgets, and of course, discuss with our students some contemporary issues related to sustainable development goals or 21st century skills. Our participants had to earn at least 3 badges from different categories. We called it smart categories because for this IO we combined the typology of different intelligences, what you heard about that from the IO number 4. So we combined it with badges application and micro qualification. So we together, working together in a very international team, we elaborated 5 categories of badges of skills: picture smart, nature smart, word smart, logic smart, and sales smart. So students had to earn at least 3 badges from the smart category and 2 badges from the basic category. So because we also organized 2 like watches. The first one was kitchen watch, so helping with serving meals, and the second like camp watch, so how to keep order in the camp. And of course, we also, it was the first one, shanty singing, so it was also an option for our students. So the students participated in many activities. As you can see, it was like a full day activities, like earning badges day by day, different levels, different category of badges. And on the Mazuri Lakes, we had no very good internet connection, so they only partially applied for digital badges. But we also awarded them with pins. So they collected pins, very nice pins. You can see those pictures. So they also received a very nice hat. So usually they attached the pins to the hat, and it looked really nice. So we had a queen and king of our camp. They finally received 12 badges, each of them. So it was like very impressive. So 12 badges within 5 days. This is a big issue. Okay, so let me just shortly introduce some categories. The picture smarts, we had 3 levels: basic of mind maps, then advanced level for mind maps, and then conceptual maps for innovation processes. For nature smart category, we started with a very nice activity like building a camp totem, then bird watching or a herbarium adventure storybook activity as the last level. For word smart category, we had as a basic level storytelling, then short speeches, then presentations. For logic smart, we had basics of logic, then advanced level for logic and master level. And the last one, sail smart, basics of sailing, then sailing advanced level, and sailing like a pro as a very last and more advanced level for sailing competences. Okay, and now I will share with you shortly some pictures, and then I will give the floor to Antonio Neves, who will show you and report you shortly about our digital budget system. But before that, just quickly some pictures and photos from our camp. And we started every day with gymnastics. It was at 7 a.m., so it was very nice. Then sailing, different activities within sailing, very nice. And of course, we had a bonfire and then different activities for word smart, for logic smart. As you can see, they really had fun. We do hope they enjoyed a lot. Our teachers also participated actively in those activities, so it was very nice. We've been singing shanties, yeah, having fun. So it was a very great moment, dancing together, working together, learning together. So this is our camp totem. It is a snail because a student said that our logo, eClose logo, looks like a snail. So they decided to build as a camp totem a snail. It was totally, built from the nature. So it was very nice. And we had many challenges, like how many people can get into the small car. This is a legend of Polish cars. It is so-called maluch, so very small. 24 students managed to get inside. So it was very, very nice, very challenging. So, but of course, they work a lot. They earned many badges, and this is bird watching activity, 5 a.m. in the morning. They started at 5 a.m. So it was also a very nice activity. Now here to learning about the sailing, about winds, about flows, about waves, and all this, and then sailing again. We really had fun. It was a great time spent together, and also we learned some foreign languages, singing in Spanish, in German, also in Portuguese language. So it was a great pleasure for us. Yeah, and we also celebrated the first anniversary of our eClose project. It was Antonio Neves and his wife cake, very delicious one. So once again, thank you, Antonio, for this. We enjoyed very much. And this is our team, eClose Camp team. So thank you very much for this part. And this is how we introduced our students to the badge system, to the short micro-credentials, activities and initiatives, just to let them, feel better and let them feel comfortable with with this new way of learning. Now I will give the floor to Antonio just to tell you more about the digital part of our badges system.
Thank you very much, Dorota. So, good morning, everyone. I will try to use my 5 minutes time just to share with you a couple of details about the digital version of the badges, because the students, the participant students, received physically badges during that event. So, we decided to use a platform. It's called Open Badges Platform. I will just start with some background, but I think everything that is written here is already from the knowledge of everyone presented in this room, and also for those that are following us online. So I think nowadays this idea of digital credentials, digital badges are gaining much more attention, including inside universities, where usually we are start using the digital badges just not only as a complement to our traditional evaluation inside our classrooms, but also to invite students to involve in extracurricular activities, like, for example, one of the programs that we are having here at our university. So badges are something that we know from our history, and the idea of badges is that they should have a clear image of what is the competences that the person that is earning that badge is having. So, for this project, we decided to use the Open Badges protocol. It's widely used worldwide, and basically it's a digital file that contains several information about what is happening. So we can have the criteria where the person is, why the person is receiving that badge. It contains a digital image that represents the badge itself, the activity, among several other information that you can find in the standard. That second topic that I put there, I think it's very, very relevant, because the idea of issuing digital badges, it's not just creating a digital file and sending it by email. Because the question is, how can we verify that the badge is really valid, and it really brings some valid knowledge about what that person really acquired in terms of capabilities, or even other relevant information about their course, for example. So we should guarantee that it's verifiable, portable, and it contains all the necessary information regarding the badge. That is the reason because several standards appear. Open badges is just one of them. There are three things that we can do with badges. We can, for example, universities can issue a badge. A student, for example, can earn a badge. Of course, this does not apply only to students. And of course, we can manage all these badges using the appropriate platforms. So you can find more information about the standard in that website, openbadges.org. There is also an available API for those that pretend to develop some specific platform, for example, inside our institutions. However, the platform that we use, the Open Badges platform, have already an API that can be integrated with the Moodle. It's something that, for example, here at our university, we are already working on. So when you think about a badge following this protocol, you have information about who earned it, who issued, and everything else regarding to the badge. So what was the criteria that were met, and several other information that's not relevant to share with you. Just for those that are curious about this, you can find all this information on the website. So since we need to manage badges, we decided to use the Open Badge Factory. It's an online portal. University of Aveiro has also a license to use it. We are integrating that at this moment with our Moodle platform, but for this project we have a specific license that is shared among all the 4 universities, and it was the platform that we used to issue the badges. Just to share with you, there are 3 major steps that everyone that wants to use digital badges have to prepare. The first one is create the badge. When we think about create a badge, we need to create a digital image that represents the activity or the skill that someone is applying to. Second, we have to give them a name, we have to give a description. Those are mandatory fields. And we should also fill in the criteria that is, in the end, what the person has to fulfill to receive this digital badge. So these are the 4 mandatory fields. Of course, there are several other things that you can prepare on the website, like the message that the person will receive in the end after achieving that badge, and so on. There are several details that you can fill in. The second step is decide how to issue the digital badge. Because after it's created, it's a digital process, but the second step is how can you share that badge with the person that is applying for it. And there are 3 main options. One of them, you can just send the digital badge to the person, for example, using her or his email. You can, for example, generate a QR code that you can have available in the end of the activity, and after the person fulfilled the required skills, he can just take a picture of that QR code and apply for the badge. And the third option, you can also have open badges in the perspective that, for example, after this session, you can just go online and request that badge. These 2 last options can be moderated or not, so you can also specify here in the website if you want to, in the end, verify if the person that is applying for that badge really reached the results or not. So everything is configurable in this second step regarding the issue. The third step, of course, optional. You can, in the end, take a look into a dashboard where you can see all the reporting process regarding the badges. How many badges are created, how many badges are issued, how many are pending for approval, so everything that is related to the process itself. So this website is clear, in our perspective, very complete. In the end, you can have a passport with all your digital badges that you acquired during your whole life in the limit. There is an app for this, available for Android and iOS. It's called Open Badge Passport, where everyone that is earning badges during their life can in the end just look into them. And you can share on your social network, on your CV. European Commission is working on a digital CV that already take into consideration this Open Badge platform. So this is something that is already happened. I forgot to say that, for example, a specific badge can also have a valid duration. So you can say that a badge can, for example, is only valid during 1 year if you think something that you have to recurring event. So for the 21st Century Skills Survival Camp, we created 20 digital badges we issued to the students. However, some of students still didn't requested it because we invited them to request the badge, but in the end the person has to accept and claim the badge. And at this moment we still having several students that did not request their badge. So I just would like to point that this was really, I think in the end of this project, we are really trying to have an European dimension regarding these digital badges. And our final idea about this is that it's really interesting in multidisciplinary contents like the STEAM courses. I think this can be really valuable nowadays. So I think 8 minutes, it was the time that I have. So thank you very much for your time. Please feel free to ask anything that was not clear.
Thank you, Antonio.
You're welcome.
There are some questions or remarks to Antonio or Dorota? You are here, Dorota? We have Antonio.
So this is the, well, if you have questions, please just let me know, but this is the platform itself. So you can create badges. Before that, I'm sorry. Though this list is all the badges that we created for the event. I don't know, for example, open here one. You can edit, you can preview, and by editing, you have to fill in all those mandatory fields. You can include extra fields like messages that, so all the students that were invited to request their badges received a message like this one that is here. Well, these are just some other configurations. And regarding the issue part, I don't know, let me just open here one of them. Internet is not helping me. So you have the information that came from the creation tool, and here you can specify, for example, the date, and if you have a limit to specify until when this badge is valid, you can just write it here. If you know beforehand the list of the person that the people that will receive this badge, you can already put their emails here, or in our case we prepare the digital badges before the event, so we just issue them later. But if it's something that you prepare after something happened, you can already put here all the information. You can create again, you can re-edit the message. Well, several details that you can use here in the issue too. So edit, creating the badge, issuing the badge, and later on you can just come here and see all the reporting regarding the number of badges, what are the most issued ones, the top accepted, and so on. Regarding the standard, for those that wants to know more about it, there are here more information, and we also prepared a very short document for everyone that participated in the event, where we just explain how to download, how to configure this digital the passport itself, and we created all the QR codes that were available in the end of each activity, where the students just checked in to claim their badges in the end. So I think this more or less.
You said that some students don't accept the
yes,
badges. Why?
Because they took these pictures, but they still didn't claim it.
And it's difficult to claim?
No, it just follow a link and create accept.
So they are.
And of course,
they are on holidays still.
Yes, it's true. But I think it's we have in our to-do list to contact all the students, also to receive feedback for the camp. And we will insist with them that is important for them to claim their digital badges.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Some questions from us?
The access to this platform, Open Badge actually, is it paid?
Yes, it's paid.
Okay. And you said it's possible to integrate it with Moodle?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
There are clear instructions how to do it.
Okay.
But for now we are experiencing a problem, and that is why it's still not ready, because so far that integration makes all the badges available for everyone that has an account on Moodle, and I think that is a limitation. So we are working closely with them, by them means the company that is developing this tool, because we want that the badges can be, for example, restricted to a specific course. Imagine in my case, in my course I prepare 5 badges, but I don't want those 5 badges can be available to all the university. Otherwise it will be a mess in the end to manage. They are working with us, closely with us to fixing that. That is why it's still not ready. You're welcome.
More questions, remarks? So if not, thank you again.
Okay, you're welcome.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers in the morning. In the afternoon we will have 6 speakers. Now it's time to lunch. We planned the lunch to be outside, but now it's not outside. No, it will be here because the weather is not very well today. It's
just
here
outside
in this corner. Okay, so it's time to lunch. If you want, you can leave here the things. Yes, we close the door.